I have found that what really grabs readers with my books is the subtext. It's all the stuff that's underlying the main story that really gets them captivated and dying to know more. It's not the easiest thing to write, but in this video, I'm going to show you some examples of subtext, how it works, and show you how to do it in your own book. Anybody who's been with this channel for more than 5 minutes knows that I love Michael Koryta, and his latest book that I read is An Honest Man. I loved it, and it has a ton of subtext in it. There's so many things that are going under the current, literally, in this book. So there's a lot of things that aren't said and a lot of history that isn't given out in those first few chapters because, number one, Israel's a guy. Male characters, by and large, do not just kind of regurgitate all their feelings on the page. Number two, this is a suspense novel, so you really want to have that sense of suspense throughout. And number three, this is a family that doesn't talk, and that is shown by all of this subtext that is going on. They're not talking about these issues because they don't talk in general. One of the best ways to create subtext is something that I talked about in my dialogue video. When a character doesn't say things, the reader will sometimes fill in the gaps with their imagination. And because they're not saying everything, that creates intrigue and questions. So in this scene, Sterling is questioning Israel, and he's being like the jovial uncle. Sterling clapped him on the shoulder. Let's make it easy on each other. I don't have any time to waste dropping hooks where there aren't any fish, you know? Same as you. Same as me, Israel said, shrugging off Sterling's hand. He could feel his heart knocking hard on his chest as if it wanted out. Right there. There's so much subtext going on in that little snippet of dialogue. We already know that he has a very vicious, mean side of him, and we already know that he does not believe anything that Israel says, and he is questioning him without questioning him. And that little part there with Israel agreeing with Sterling kind of sets up a little bit more of that tension. We know that Israel is lying to him, and we want to know why. You can also use subtext to create a power imbalance so that characters feel off-center and then the readers do too. An Honest Man has that happen a lot with Sterling at once, and Sterling's always trying to lord it over him with being the big cop, literally physically and with the words that he says. That subtext isn't just in a suspense novel. If you want to learn how to write a really great romance or just a really good love story, Kennedy Ryan is amazing. But yet there's a lot of subtext and a lot of things that aren't said between the two characters that give us hope and maybe a little hint that they could possibly make it work out. In chapter 4, it's a simple thing. Yasmin calls Josiah about the dog. He picks up the phone, his heart's hammering, and he says, "Hey, everything okay?" And in his head, he's thinking, you need me, you want me, should I come home? So we know he already still loves her. And we're set up for that. Like, that's what we're hoping she will say. Yes, I want you, I need you. But instead, she says, I think Otis wants you. And boom, his disappointment. The reader feels disappointed because the reader really wanted that to happen. And we know that they're kind of dancing around the truth, where she's talking about the dog and he's thinking about their relationship. All of these hopes and fears are right there in those two little words with him. Otis, she says again. Yasmin broke it into small bites I could digest. He won't stop howling. He's standing at your side of the bed, resting his head on your actual pillow. She's not mentioning that she wishes he was home to take care of the dog. He's not mentioning that he wishes she would say she misses him. None of that is there, but it's all implied just a little bit. In The Secret Ingredient for a Happy Marriage, Nora avoids facing reality all the time. She avoids facing the truth, too, with her sisters and her mother. And when Bridget calls to ask her about her vacation, which is actually Nora's trial separation / divorce from her husband, they don't really talk about what's actually going on. Hey, sis, just checking to see how the vacation is going, Bridget said. Great, the kids are having a blast. Right there, we know for a fact that none of that is happening. We've seen the kids argue with her, we've seen her avoid the truth, and we know she's lying. So underneath that is a lot of things that aren't being said. And you? Bridget asked, I hope you're relaxing. And here's what Nora does instead of addressing what's going on. And this is a great technique for creating subtext. She changes the subject. How are things at the bakery? Nora asked. When a character changes the subject, the reader knows that's because they don't want to talk about the truth. And so they change the subject, which is an immediate signal to the reader and sometimes to the other characters that this is a sore spot that the character doesn't want to address. These are the kinds of internal battles that the character is trying to avoid. That happens in An Honest Man. In that same scene where Sterling is questioning Israel, Sterling asks about some missing money and what happened on this boat where a bunch of people have been murdered. And another character in the scene says, oh yeah, and the photographs too. That's not something that Sterling wants to talk about. So he immediately changes the subject. So now we know, as the reader, because Sterling changed the subject. There's something going on underneath there. And so we're intrigued. And when the photographs come up later in the book, we're already primed to worry about them, to see how they are tied in. That's what subtext does. It creates a connection in the reader's mind where they're like, oh, that's something to pay attention to. Another great way to create subtext without changing the subject is to have the character have an action that is the opposite of what they're feeling. I've talked about it in lots of other videos, but creating that juxtaposition of opposites is a great way to layer in a little bit more of what's going on in the book. In Kennedy Ryan's Before I Let Go, Yasmin and Josiah are having a conversation, and she says, "Do you ever think about him?" Yasmin asks, still not looking at me, her voice frighteningly steady. Josiah, in response, does this sort of defensive posture. I lean against the wall and cross my arms over my chest, a flimsy guard for a broken heart I haven't figured out how to articulate. So instead of saying what he's feeling, he puts up a wall. He literally physically puts up a wall between them. When you have your characters doing the opposite action of what they're saying, you communicate to the reader that there's something more going on here. In The Secret Ingredient for a Happy Marriage, Nora and her husband Ben are having a fight in the very first chapter. Ben leaned against the door, watching her for a long time without a word. Finally, he said, "Don't go, Nora." She hesitated at the hitch in his voice, the exposed wound in those words. "Stay," some foolish, hopeful part of her whispered. "Stay and work this out." And the reader is like, oh, look, stay, look at him. He's so sorry. He's so sad. But her actions show something different. Instead, she zipped the largest suitcase shut and then started filling the next one. So boom, her actions are saying, I'm not staying, even though her heart wants her to. We see this conflict within her. And remember, you want to have conflict on every single page. And that conflict is shown in the subtext, in what is said, what is unsaid, how the character acts, how the character doesn't act. Zipping the suitcase shut is a lot like Josiah leaning back with his arms crossed. It creates a sense of distance. So the character's actions are putting up a wall. Actions can be used to show what the character is feeling, to show what the character is planning, and to show a lot of what is going on between them. In The Guest List by Lucy Foley, she's trying to set up the suspense. So you have characters acting the opposite of how they would normally do it, and that creates more mystery in the reader's mind. There's a scene between Olivia and Jules the bride, and Jules is acting completely out of character. I see it happen in the mirror in front of us before I actually feel it. Jules reaches out and takes my hand in hers. I freeze. It's so unlike Jules. She is not big on physical contact or affection. "Look," she says, "I know we haven't always got along, but I am proud to have you as my bridesmaid. You do know that, don't you?" So we know that there's something going on between them, that Jules is acting the part of being, oh, this is so great, you're going to be my bridesmaid. Jules gives my hand a squeeze, which for her is like a full-blown hug. So she takes the physicality one more degree. And then she does it a third time. When you are using something that's really vital to the plot or something that you really want to show and get across, repeating it 3 times makes the reader think, oh, this is something I need to pay attention to. Having characters act outside of their character, doing things that the other characters don't expect, sets them up as suspects. So the third time, then she grabs her arms and holds them really tight, like painfully tight. So the whole thing starts to escalate. And that is setting up more and more of that suspense without us even knowing that it's doing it. That's the best part about subtext. You're feeling more suspenseful, you're feeling more tense, and you don't even know why, because Lucy Foley has done this little thing by degrees that has started to increase the tension in the room. The other thing that you can do, and something that I really love doing, is using the weather as a juxtaposition to what the characters are saying or what they're feeling. I've done this a lot of times where I've used the setting or the weather to create a mood so that they're seeing and hearing things that are echoed by the setting. In Lucy Foley's The Guest List, she does it brilliantly because there's this huge storm that's going on while there's a murder happening. And so that whole thing is a metaphor for what's going on inside. It's chaos everywhere. And the storm becomes a big part of that. For instance, if you really want a heartwarming moment in your book, then surround the character with something that is heartwarming and emotional, or something that brings up a common memory for them. If you want to really increase the suspense, you put them in a dark room, you put them with the bad guy coming after them, you put them on some creaky stairs. All of those things that you see done in movies, you can absolutely do in your book. You're using these underlying things, whether it's the thing the character says or doesn't say, the actions that they take or don't take, or the setting and the weather to create a mood, to elevate the experience for the reader. So you're not just describing it to put it on everything in the book has to advance. Every single thing that you pause to describe in your book is something that the reader is going to pay attention to because they've been trained. Oh, they're describing this. This is going to be important somehow. So you want to make sure that that place or that thing really does impact what's going on, or echo it, or have some kind of underlying message that you want the reader to get. The final tip I have for you with subtext is probably the hardest one to actually follow. It's to not tell so much. I get that you really want to say he felt sad or he felt angry, but the reader can figure it out. If you can show that the character is scared, you don't have to tell that they're scared. And if their actions go the opposite of their words, that creates even more power on them. Now, how about some writing exercises that help you do this? What I would like you to do is take all the telling out of a scene between two characters. Take out all of the things where the character says he felt, he seemed, he looked, all of those kinds of things that are telling, and just let it play out in the actions and the words between the two characters. You can also write a scene where they're talking about everything but the emotion that they're feeling. When characters talk around their emotions, you know that they're super important, because when people avoid something, you know that makes it 10 times more important. Try those writing exercises. Let me know how it goes and how you're layering in the subtext in your book. And if you want to really look at a scene piece by piece by piece, check out this video here where I tear one apart word by word and tell you what every single word is. When you can learn to do that with your scene or scenes that you read, you learn how to create those emotions that grab the reader from the very first page.